Well, I'll tell you what the big problem is. It's going to be Monday, after Thanksgiving. Everyone wants to tell you about what they did. I don't care where you are, you work in an office, you don't, you're running to people outside. Oh, what did you do? Oh, we went to so and so's. Oh, well, we went to this family member's house. Let me explain something. You'll see where I'm coming from. We know what you did. You sat down around a table, bunch of folks, you ate turkey. That's it. That's all you did. We don't all need to tell each other. We all had the same universal experience for the most part. If you did something interesting, if for some reason you wound up on the moon, having your Thanksgiving on the crater surface of the moon, perhaps not eating turkeys, but with other turkeys by some weird twist of whatever, then I'll hear about it. Steve Weiner here from GetRubix.com. Happy Thanksgiving. If this drops on Thanksgiving, which I think it will, I don't see why it won't. It's my Thanksgiving gift to everyone. Today we're going to talk about how to troubleshoot when autopilot goes wrong. I kind of like the turkey thing with the on the moon. Can you make that the thumbnail for this? Okay, so I'm using a different tenant to show this. To be honest, it's actually a hard thing to build something to break in a specific way. It's like a talent in and of itself. So what I have is I have a machine registered in a very generic tenant. Okay, so let's sign in as Rick. X 27855.microsoft.com. Okay. All right, so we should be expecting not that. Okay, so the device should have hit the enrollment status page, right? But it didn't. Even though it's set for, well, let's do a few things. So why did this device seemingly bounce right out of autopilot, right? And let's see what it is going to do with us. So it's taking me to Windows Hello. I guess I don't have that suppressed in this tenant. Okay, let's do the auth with Rick. Okay, set my pin up. Something went wrong. We're not going to troubleshoot that. Okay, so if we go back to look at this particular tenant and I go to the enrollment status page, it is set for all users and all devices, right? It's set for yes. I have the time a little lower, 20 minutes, but that really doesn't matter. So why would it bounce out? So the first thing we're going to do is let's talk about where do we look for Intune errors, right? We're going to go to the event viewer and there's a few places, right? So the first place we want to look is if we drill down apps and services, go to Microsoft, Windows, there is a specific place for autopilot. So we're going to scroll down to the P's here. Okay. It's provisioning diagnostics provider. And you see there is an autopilot log. Suspicious. Nothing in there. Okay. Next, we're going to go ahead and take a look at the device management enterprise diagnostics provider. Admin. Okay, so we see some errors. Declared MDM declared configuration, declared function. Okay, but where are we seeing? Okay, MDM policy manager during inbox found bad enrollment. Enrollment state is deleting policies. Okay, so it's not actually enrolling. This won't always be super clear. In fact, we can even back up a second here. I want to show you in the tenant. Let's go look at that device. Windows enrollment devices. So there it is. It's got the profile assigned, but it's not an Intune, but it got the name, which is kind of funny, right? So why did it enroll in Intune? Okay, when this happens, the first thing you want to look at is your automatic enrollment. So I'm going to click on so devices, Windows enrollment, automatic enrollment. Okay, well, let's take a look here. We have this scope to some, and it's scoped to a group that doesn't have the right user in it. So I could change the scope here, but I'm actually going to go with my rule that I always talk about and set this to all so that we don't have that issue. Again, if we want to restrict this, we can do this with the actual enrollment restrictions, block personally owned, so that they're only coming in through Autopilot or group policy or co-management. But I don't want to restrict anything here because that's going to force me to basically bounce out of Autopilot, which I don't want to do. And that's exactly what just happened. If we go back down to the provisioning log, notice that was empty. Okay. Anything in admin, source detail, that's not going to give us anything. Management service. So Autopilot was empty, but the problem is sometimes this doesn't always log. So another place to check to make sure the device ended up in Autopilot correctly is the registry. So if we open the registry, HKey local machine, software, Microsoft, let's get to the P's. So provisioning, Autopilot policy. So a few things here we can look at. So you can see that cloud assigned device name last processed, it got my naming schema. If we take a look at this, the policy JSON cache, that means it's receiving the policy here. So if I hover over this, yep, it's got my tenant name in there, profile available 1, Autopilot settings. This is everything I've set in my profile. So use refactored ESP, it's got the Autopilot URI, right? We're all set here. Meaning the device knows it belongs on Autopilot. So while that worked, totally bounced out of Intune. So it's always a good place to come check when you are having issues like that. And if that happens and you feel like you've completely bounced out, let's reset that machine and try again. All right, let's go again. Well, would you look at that? Now we got the enrollment status page. Brilliant. That must mean the device made its way into Intune because we're not blocking it with user scope. Okay, and if we come back to Intune here and we go to the Autopilot devices, this time when I click on it, I will see an associated Intune device. So it already made it in. Well, that's terrific. The next step is our policy and applications. Okay, so now we're on to the next step. And we can see 0 of 3 apps installed. It's working on that now. And just to show you what we are working with, this is very similar to my other tenant. So when I come in here, I expect it to just be waiting for 3 apps. So this will be, it's waiting for the Autopilot branding, Google Chrome, and the Microsoft 365 suite, better known as Microsoft Office. So it looks like we've already made it to 1. We're just waiting on the next 2. Okay. So what I will say is sometimes it's, I never thought this would fail. It was taking quite a while. Apparently it did not respect my 20-minute timer, but you know what? That's okay. It failed. Honestly, trying to build this to fail was a little harder than building it to work for me, but that's okay. So our deployment failed. Now what happened? Well, the real question is what caused it to fail? We know it installed 2 out of the 3 apps, so it must be an application failure. So the first thing we're going to do is determine which app failed. So right from here, you're going to be able to do function shift F10 or shift F10 to get your command prompt back. And we're going to go back into PowerShell. So what we're going to do is we're going to install a script. We're going to install a script called Get-AutopilotDiagnostics. And we're going to force it. What this script will do is this will basically parse out to us the journey that the device just took. So let's run it. Get-AutopilotDiagnostics. Okay, and this of course was created by Michael Niehaus. So thank you, Michael Niehaus, for the script, which has become invaluable. All right, so we can see exactly what happened here. So this is just giving us some information about the deployment itself, the OS version, the tenant we're connected to. This all looks right. The ESP enabled. Okay, so a few things have to happen. The first one is whenever you deploy Office, Microsoft 365 apps, whatever you want to call it, it is more of a policy than an app. And that was successful. We had two other apps. We had the Win32 app here and the Win32 app down here. Now, they're not going to give us the friendly name. However, they are going to provide us with the GUID, right? So we can very easily reference this against Intune. So Autopilot branding starts with 72A. So when I come back here, well, 72A installed successfully, no problem. 9C9 must be Chrome, because those were the only three apps I was waiting for. So Google Chrome, right up here, look at that, 9C9. So this failed. It's a little early, though, for it to be reporting back a failure into, yeah, it's too early for it to report back to Intune as to why it failed. So how can we tell why it failed? Well, these apps are installed via something called the Intune management extension. Sometimes they call it Sidecar. I don't know if they're still calling it Sidecar. That's the Microsoft internal name for it. I believe that's what this thing is up here. Oh, yep, right here. Hold on. Installation finished. Installation started. Download started. Sidecar. Yes, the Sidecar is the management extension that has to be there. Okay, so what we want to do is we want to open the Explorer. And from there, we want to go to C, Program Data, Microsoft, and then Intune Management Extension, and you'll see a logs folder. So what we want is the actual Intune Management Extension log. And this, I mean, there's quite a bit in here, right? But if we search for, I'm going to actually search for Google Chrome and see if I can find it, and I can. So what this is going to tell me is you're better off reading this in something. Let's word wrap that. Okay. So this is going to, if I scroll up here, I should be able to see the GUID. You can also extract this, just so you know, and not look at it like this. This is like ridiculous. Okay, so I can already see a few things regarding the behavior. So I can see that the MSI itself, so let's actually go back here. Standalone Enterprise 264. It shouldn't be called 264. It should be called 64. And if we look at the detection rule, okay, it should be looking for file or folder. It should be looking for Chrome exe, not Chrome 2. So if we just go back to take a look at our app itself, which we're going to do here, properties. Okay, I already see the error. So I must have made a mistake when typing this. So I'll get rid of the 2. And now let's look at our detection rule. Yep, that should just be Chrome. Okay, obviously I did that on purpose. But the point is, when you're looking at a client device, this is where you want to look to actually see what's happening when you run the apps and where they might fail, right? So with that done, there's a few things we can do. We can try again and let it run back through now that I've updated the app. That might take some time. We could restart the machine. Yeah, so it's just not enough. I don't think I've given enough time. So we can try to restart it and let it finish that way. You can also hit collect logs here if you have access to the end user. If not, you can walk someone through collecting it. We should be able to pull these from Intune also. So if I wanted to go to Intune and find this device, I should be able to come in here and collect the diagnostics. And that'll give me the same thing I could look at to see what actually happened to the device. So I would collect them from here. And then hopefully rectify the problem and, you know, get it to a place where it tries again. Obviously, a lot of things can go wrong with Autopilot if things aren't set up correctly, but we all make mistakes. And I've made a lot worse than these here. So it's a good idea to start getting comfortable knowing where to look. And in my experience, those are the two most common. If there are some that you're hitting and you'd like me to show them or talk about, the best way to get around them, maybe you still can't solve it and it happens sometimes, just let us know in the Discord and be happy to take a look at it. If you observe the day of the turkey, then have a happy turkey day.
1, 2,